What was your relationship like with your dad throughout the whole thing, or when he came home, or later on when you grew up, I guess?
My relationship with my father was dope. To be the son of a rock star.
Right.
He lived that life too, and I mean all of the bad stuff that comes with that rock star life. All of the drugs, all of the bad hours, all of the bad decisions, all of the women, all of the alcohol, all of that. So, I mean, when he was checked in, he was all right for the most part. I mean, a lot of times he was home. There was a time in his career where, he wasn't doing so great. So he was home a lot. And for me, it was cool. But
Right.
it wasn't for everybody else because he didn't have money. And when he didn't have money, things didn't get paid, and then people had attitudes, and then he didn't do well with people having attitudes. So, I mean, it was a roller coaster.
As it was happening in your childhood, did you notice what was happening? Later on the road, you realize all the struggles your father was dealing with?
I didn't notice. I barely noticed when I was 10. I barely noticed. I was a real shy, timid, scared kind of kid. My father was crazy and often drunk and or often high. My mom was kind of always upset and or afraid. My sisters were mean, except for my Nene. My eldest sister was always mean. So I was always afraid. I was always kind of like in the corner, afraid to kind of express myself or voice out. But then, I, of course, like any other kid, I could be mischievous. But I didn't notice what he was going through until I was on the reunion tour with him. And then when he noticed that I could tell what was going on with him, he kind of put me in check and was like, yo, ignore that shit. Stop looking at me like that. It got so bad to where he sent me home because I was just like...
You could see him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could see him.
As afraid of him as I was, as intimidated as he wanted me to be, I still had empathy for him.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I had a similar story with my dad. My dad ended up being on drugs, and I was in high school when I really, really noticed. And I remember getting out of the car to this very day and I just told him that I loved him. I just told him that I loved him. And, I want him to be better.
I told my father that too.
Yeah.
I told my father that as a young adult. I was literally terrified of my father until I was about 15. He was hella abusive mentally, emotionally, physically.
Right.
I think the women in his life probably got it more than I did. I would say the kids, but they only got a couple whoopings in their lives because they didn't experience his persona lasted a lot longer over there because they didn't live under the same roof with him. Mm-hmm. So when they saw their father, it was different and it was more celebratory. When I saw my father, it was more, oh shit, how's he gonna be right now?
Right.
Listen, my father, I've had to get out of my father's car that he left me in and said, I'll be right back 3 hours later to go find him. Multiple times. But as much pain as my father has caused me being an adult and being the father of 3 male children, I get some of the burden that an individual who doesn't have the tools has on their shoulders when they don't know how to, let alone make provisions for the people that they love, because we as men just instinctively want to do that, but to love them correctly. But that's also hard to do when you weren't loved correctly.
It's crazy because, I mean, so few people become a superstar. And when you do become a superstar, no one really knows how to be a superstar and what comes along with that. You know, the pitfalls of being a superstar, as far as the world wanting you, people catering to you, and, you know, the drugs that you're exposed to, the money that you're exposed to. And like, he probably was a young kid or just a young man, and now he has all this stuff in his hand and he don't know what to do with it.
Especially when the people around you are like, David, look what they got over there for you. It's nobody over there being like, hey, bro.
Right.
That's not a good look. That's probably a no. We shouldn't do that. He didn't have those people around him.
Right.
I mean, because, you are the company you keep. So.
But a lot of us come from nothing.
Well, he came from almost nothing.
Right.
That's why all of the fame, that glitz and that glamour and those women and the money and the drugs and stuff was so attractive.
For sure.
He didn't have the opportunities. He wasn't invited to the parties. He was a skinny, big-eyed, ugly kid to most people. And then, he grew some long hair, got it pressed, and did what his brother did, which was sing.
Right.
And it worked. I'm not mad at him. I'm just mad at how he handled it.
And growing up, in a music, with a father in the music industry and seeing, the bad parts of it, what drew you to pursue that?
I didn't.
Didn't?
I didn't.
It found you?
Actually, it didn't even find me. It caught up to me because I was running. My mother was in entertainment as well. She was a model and a dancer as well. So even when my mom left my father, I was still kind of subjected to the entertainment life and the nightlife, and I was still kind of just like, still for real, like, still, man. Then it turns into you raising yourself at the crib and making your own food and eating jelly sandwiches and eating syrup sandwiches and mayo sandwiches right? Looking at me with, yeah, I know what you mean, but it's hard to come from not much and not see what everybody's talking about, have it there in front of you and not take it.
Right.
It's hard, and I'm speaking from experience in that department too, because I've been in the industry pretty much most of my life. Still today, and fortunately, I've decided to pick and choose when I want to deal with it, but it sure chases me down. I'm still working, not necessarily because I've been trying to. Some people might tell me that's some bullshit and you should be grateful, and I am.